Rather lads, welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Welcome back to the podcast. This afternoon, we discuss a total agreement between Edu and Gabriel. He's already convinced him to join Arsenal, and that will not change, according to Leonardo Baran, journalist working closely with the Brazilian national team. Also, Gary Jacobs, The Times, has also confirmed that there is nothing in the stories that Yuri Tillemans will not be joining Arsenal and he will be extending his contract at Leicester City. There is nothing in there. The two players, Fabio Vieira and Tillemans, do not play in the same position. Therefore, one move does not affect the other. We'll talk about Fabio Vieira's first interview. The Mirror have just given us an excerpt talking about the Premier League and also promising Arsenal fans that all he's going to do is work to make sure that he gets better as a player for the Premier League and also Arsenal Football Club. So all that and more is going to be discussed in this one. Hit the like button for me, subscribe to the podcast because we're very close to 43,000 subscribers, and of course we are very, very close to 50, which is the main target. Like I said, I want to create content for the first 50,000 subscribers, and we want to get to 100 and get that YouTube button as soon as possible. Now, the like target is not changing. 500 likes per video right about now. That is where we are. Hit the like button. Let's get this one to 500 as well. Let's get to the content. Let's start off with the Fabio Vieira's interview. He's been speaking about the Premier League and how he loves the league and how he appreciates it, but also acknowledging the fact that the league is a difficult one and he will need to get some time. He'll need some time to adapt, but he's going to be working hard for that. Speaking with the Mirror, this is what he said. Playing in the Premier League won't be easy, and I promise only to work. My agent worked on the deal between the two clubs, and I accepted the deal because it was important for all parties. I have always watched the Premier League on TV. So that is according to the Mirror, quoting the man himself, Fabio Vieira, speaking about the Premier League. Of course, look, we've already said it, and we know the Premier League is one of those very challenging leagues to play in, very, very difficult leagues to play in, especially if you're an attacking midfielder. It even gets worse because you have those very strong defenses, you have those strong CDMs, Premier League players, Premier League teams, especially the likes of Burnley, the likes of Fulham, the likes of those. The lower teams would really like to play very physical games, very, very high intensity games, because and of course the Premier League as well is very physical, high intensity. It's a difficult league to cope up with, but of course I believe he will cope up as a player. I think he's a very, very quality player. Very quality, very, very quality addition. I don't see him fail to adopt the Premier League. Apart from injuries, things that you cannot guarantee, but apart from injuries, I think he will adapt to the Premier League. So he says he acknowledges the fact that the Premier League is not one of the easiest leagues to play in, but he's going to be working hard to make sure that he gets to the level where Arsenal fans want him, but also to match the standards of the Premier League. Now we've got also an update, a huge one from Brazilian journalist Leonardo Baran, working very, very closely with the Brazilian national team, like I reported in the first place. And this is what he's just put out on his Instagram a couple of hours ago. Edu Gaspar has already convinced Gabriel Jesus, he calls him at De Jesus official, that his transfer to Arsenal will be great professionally. Jesus does not want in any way a draw with Guardiola, who was the one who called him in 2016, convincing him to go to Manchester City. That is Leonardo Baran, working very closely with the Brazilian national team, as well as a journalist that you can really trust when it comes to Brazilian content and Brazilian updates. Now, he said first and foremost, his initial tweet, actually Instagram post, because for him he uses Instagram rather than Twitter. his initial Instagram post was, Gabriel Jesus to Arsenal, done. No more. And we discussed that yesterday. And now he's coming again to say that there is a total agreement between Edu and the player. The player doesn't want in any way, shape or form. He doesn't want to draw. He doesn't want to stay at Manchester City with Pep Guardiola. So he says Edu has already convinced Jesus that his transfer to Arsenal will be great professionally. Jesus does not want in any way to draw with Guardiola, who was the one who called him in 2016, convincing him to go to Manchester City. So all the transfer gossip, all the transfer for me nonsense around this deal should just stay away. This guy is an Arsenal player. I think Arsenal will just need some time to progress this deal, to process it, and to get everything done. But if anyone believes that this deal is not going to get over the line, they're sick. They're absolutely sick. So again, Leonardo Buran confirming the total agreement between Edu and fellow Brazilian, Gabriel Jesus. Total agreement. Player doesn't want to stay with Manchester City and Pep Guardiola. Now, with Yuri Tillemans, we also have something very similar. This is according to Gary Jacobs, The Times. Vieira's arrival is not thought to have an impact on Arsenal's move for Yuri Tillemans. Arsenal have also interest in Alexander Zinchenko and Rafinha. The links with midfielders suggest Granit Xhaka could leave this summer, with interest in Italian clubs ramping up. Gary Jacobs, The Times. Now, this is a story that has been, breaking around and making huge rounds because of lazy journalism this morning, that Yuri Tillemans is gonna stay. Yuri Tillemans is going to, extend his contract by 1 year and things like that. It is not true. It is absolutely not true. The player has a full agreement, total agreement with Leicester City to let him go, and I think if he doesn't leave in any world, if he doesn't leave, there is no reason for him to sign a 1 year contract extension when he's going to play for one more season, leave on a free in the summer, and sign a huge sign-on fee and go to any club that he wants. That is where it doesn't make any sense for me. It really doesn't make any sense. Now, Gary Jacobs, The Times, has also given us, the same, has added to the same voice that Fabrizio Romano used to confirm that there is no confirmation, there is no truth in the stories that the player will extend his contract with Leicester City by a year. There is no truth in that. He's not heard of that. So those are two now credible journalists confirming that Yuri Tillemans' deal is not affected, first and foremost, but also, despite the fact that Vieira is incoming, Xhaka could be leaving. Clubs in Italy are interested. For me, look, I don't want to be this kind of guy who says Xhaka should be leaving, Xhaka should be leaving, Xhaka should be leaving. No, I don't want to be that kind of guy. But if Arsenal do have any pocket of space, to let Xhaka leave, do that. I believe Albert Samuel Lokonga is going to be a great midfielder to back up Thomas Partey. He will need some time, just like all the new signings. I mean, I'll be very, very surprised. Arsenal fans saying, Cossy, give Vieira some time. He's a quality player. But many of you don't want to give Albert Samuel Lokonga some time, to develop as a player. So, I think Lokonga is going to be great as a midfielder. We have Mohamed El Neni extending his contract. So, Xhaka, in any way, shape, or form, he can leave. Go to Italy, get some good time there. It's a very, very slow league. You can do all your passing accuracy. I think if he goes to Germany or if he goes to Italy, Xhaka will have a passing accuracy of around 95%. Both in his own half and also in the opposition half, because it's a little bit slow. It gives you time to pick up a pass. In the Premier League, you don't have that. If you're that slow, you're either too accurate and you're making simple passes, or you're inaccurate and you're making wrong passes. And I think Xhaka, the fact that he's been very, very accurate, by the way, in his passing, reflects in the fact that he's been making easy passes, right? Those easy passes that do not affect the final third. And that's why many Arsenal fans were really, really excited when they saw Fabio Vieira, because with Vieira, the few clips you've seen and the few clips you will see, he impacts the final third. He's driving the ball. He is getting into the penalty area. He's driving 3-4 yards away from the penalty area and releasing the ball from there. And that is what you want. You want someone who can do that. It's a certain kind of Santi Cazorla player. But I don't want to get into that because we have a whole video of who this guy is and how he line up with Arsenal and why I think Santi Cazorla's replacement Arsenal at Arsenal has actually arrived. Now, Tielemans confirmed, deal is not affected, and it's also now confirmed that Xhaka could be leaving for Italy, and that makes it even more credible that the player will be joining Arsenal Football Club. I also want to talk about the two defensive options Arsenal looking at in this summer. That is Steven Botman, reportedly, and Lisandro Martinez. Let's start off with Steven Botman. Now, reports are claiming that Arsenal would love to hijack a deal for Steven Botman. Now, this story has been making rounds. I think it's a week old, and people are trying to recycle it. Steven Botman to Arsenal, I don't think that is even on. I really don't think that is even on. I think Steven Botman will be going to Newcastle, and maybe people are trying to convince us that Arsenal are trying to hijack that deal for Steven Botman to Newcastle. That is absolutely not true. According to The Athletic and David Onstein, our priority in that area is Lisandro Martinez. And the European lad, guy calls himself the European lad on Twitter, specializing in Ajax content and back as well, just confirmed that Lisandro Martinez is absolutely keen on a move away from Ajax. However, that doesn't mean that he doesn't want to stay at the club. Total confusion. Absolutely total confusion. But that is what he said, and I want to get his quote right. Lisandro Martinez is keen on a move, but that doesn't mean he doesn't want to stay at Ajax. And he says, in his own opinion, he looks at it as a deal that will see Lisandro Martinez stay back at Ajax this campaign. Now, of course, we've had a bid rejected. If we can make a meaningful bid to Ajax, my thoughts and my opinions are that deal will get done. Ajax have never refused to sell unless otherwise. They've sold Gravenberch. They're looking to sell Tinder. They could sell Lisandro Martinez. They could sell anyone as long as the fee is right. So, in my opinion, I don't see how Arsenal failed to get this one because the player wants to stay at Ajax. Absolute nonsense. He wants to move, but can we agree a deal with Ajax Football Club? And finally, Christopher Nkunku, the deal is still alive. It is being reported that Arsenal's deal for Christopher Nkunku, the Arsenal's move for Christopher Nkunku is not dead yet, despite the fact that Rafinha is up the list, high up the priority list. You have Christopher Nkunku's deal very alive. It will depend on how much Arsenal, how easy or how hard Arsenal will be. It will be for Arsenal to get Rafinha this summer, and also moving on Nicola Pepe, and of course how much money Leipzig are willing to settle for in that deal. If they're going to ask for 100 million, like they've been saying, that deal will not happen. But the deal is back on. The deal is alive. But 100 million euros, I don't think Arsenal will pay that. Hit the like button for me. Subscribe to the podcast, and I will speak to you right in the next one. We're very close to 43,000 subscribers, so keep on hitting that love button.